AI and large language models present great potential and great challenges for the museum industry. Here to discuss whether museums should embrace this technology, we have Nik Honeysett of the Balboa Park Online Collaborative, and also joining us is Lori Fogarty of the Oakland Museum of California. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So Nik, I'm going to start with you with the overall intake of how museums are dealing with AI and the large language models.
Well, I think they're curious, skeptical, and a little apprehensive, as they should be. Guilty, right? And I think Lori represents the kind of bell curve of the majority of museums who probably at the staff level, it's being used for kind of day-to-day activities, but there's no policy, there's no guidelines in there. A lot of concerns about bias, cultural bias, which is justified, misinformation, hallucinations, all these kinds of things that are within the large language model, ChatGPT, Gemini, those kind of services. But I think the problem is the museums are not taking the time to understand what this thing is. It's a new technology. It does have problems, but you need to understand how to use it.
Lori, you're actually actively exploring this for the Oakland Museum. What have been those considerations?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything you just described. I think for me, when Nik and I talked about actually having this conversation, I said I'm a complete novice. And it's one of those things when something new comes along and you're sort of trying to kind of ignore it. And then in the course of a week, three people ask, how's the museum using AI? And then it's kind of like, yeah, we need to think about this. So we are just at the point, for example, our audit committee of our board is looking at, ethical and policy guidelines. I hear conversations within individual departments about how they might use it, but we are not at the stage where we've said, okay, here's our approach to AI, and I'm really interested to get there.
Well, and for both of you, it's not intended to replace the human experience, right? It's just going to assist, or how would that work?
So most curators, I actually had a survey of curators last week about, okay, how are we going to use this? So there's a number of ways to use it. So one is this just kind of to be informed, to use it as you might use Google to get some information, and then you're off and you, whatever the project or the information is. Another way to use it is this kind of interaction, kind of a co-collaborator, where you give it some information, it gives you some information back, and then you kind of have this transactional, in the same way that you might have a research assistant, right? And I think that's one of the major benefits, certainly for curatorial staff who probably over the last few years have seen reduction in staff, particularly kind of support staff, research assistants, and that's an ideal scenario.
Right. No, I mean, it's a great example. We have a huge collection, over 2 million artifacts, objects, specimens. Nobody could have expertise on even a tiny percentage of that. We have a very lean curatorial staff. So I think it becomes the job of the curator, if they're going to utilize it, which I think would be a great benefit, is to be the discerning eye, to be the careful editor, to be the, 80% of this is going to be really helpful, and now I need to kind of finish it, the 20%, and really scrutinize it. By that 80% savings is real in terms of time.
It's a great book by Beth Cantor, who it's called The Smart Nonprofit, and it's about kind of human-centered AI adoption. And the major point about that is it's time dividend, right? I mean, it gets you further quicker, but you do need this discerning eye in order to use it.
And where does it stand for you, since you're fully entrenched in this? What is the next step for the museum, the Oakland Museum of California, and AI's usage?
So I think it's twofold. I think on the board side, there's really the discussion around policies, risk. Again, our audit committee is looking at this to put the policies in place with our IT department. And then I think it's kind of individual conversations by department. I mean, the curatorial area is one that's really considered a lot in terms of the rigor of the scholarship and the authentic voice, et cetera. But in marketing and communications, that might be a different usage. I'm really interested in it around visitor experience. We have a very diverse audience at the Oakland Museum of California. Are there ways that we can provide interpretive material, guides, different languages, different levels of understanding, more customized personal approaches to visitor experience? So that's a different utilization. So I think it's one, just being open with the full staff and the organization. Nik, where would you begin? Like if you were me.
So I think you've got to pick some small projects and get
try them out.
try them out. You got to get familiar with it. You know, there's so, you know, it used to be that in a resume you would have must have Microsoft Office skills, right?
Right.
You know, I think the time is coming where you should have prompting skills, right? You should know how to query these things. You know, critical thinking. You know, these things need to be taught to, I think, to museum staff about how to interact and get the best notion out of this. So small projects, get familiar, get comfortable with it, get to understand it, assign somebody who is kind of
early adopters
leading.
who are already eager.
Right, and then take it step by step. You know, steady, but it's something that you have to kind of embrace.
Well, what it's not going to take away this amazing human interaction and collaboration right here.
Right.
I mean, set to elevate, but I mean, just the human connectivity of what you're doing right here is so critical as well. Thank you for joining us so much. Thank you for your knowledge.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Want more museum content? Don't go anywhere. Just click the link right here to watch all of our content from AAM TV 2025. Have fun.